The emergency lights flashed red across the Alliance Council chamber. Around the circular table, representatives of 12 peaceful species sat in silence. Their third core world had fallen just hours ago. On the main screen, they watched the recordings from their last defending fleet as it burned under the hunters' weapons. "We have lost half our territory in just 2 months," said first speaker Tom, his blue skin pale with exhaustion. His long fingers traced patterns on the table's surface, a nervous habit he had picked up after decades in politics. The hunters grow stronger with each victory. The other council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. They all knew what was coming. They had run out of options. "We must discuss the forbidden option," Tom continued. His voice was steady, but his inner eyelids flickered rapidly, a sign of extreme stress in his species. "We must contact the Deathworlders." The chamber erupted in worried whispers. Councillor Reed, whose plant-like body swayed gently even in stillness, spoke first. "The humans? They are quarantined for good reason. Their world, Earth, it is a nightmare. The gravity alone would crush most of our species. Their atmosphere is toxic with oxygen levels that would cause spontaneous combustion on many of our worlds. And yet they thrive there," Tom replied. "They not only survive but hunt for sport. Their entertainment involves voluntary physical combat. Their children play games that would be considered military training by our standards." The room's holographic display changed to show Earth. The beautiful blue-white planet looked peaceful from orbit, but every being in the room knew better. They had all studied the classified reports. Earth was a death trap. High gravity, extreme temperature variations, thousands of predator species, and natural disasters that could reshape continents. "What makes you think they would help us?" asked Councillor Brightwing, her feathers rustling. "We have kept them isolated, treated them like savages." Tom stood up slowly. "Because we have watched them, studied them. For all their capacity for violence, humans show something remarkable. They protect the weak. Their stories, their heroes, their greatest legends, they all speak of standing up against bullies and tyrants." The main screen changed again, showing footage from Earth's public broadcasts. A human rushing into a burning building to save a stranger's pet. Another diving into rough waters to help a drowning child. A small group standing against a much larger force to protect others. "The hunters are the ultimate bullies of our galaxy," Tom continued. "And humans hate bullies." Councillor Reed's leaves trembled. "If we do this, if we contact them, how do we know they won't simply destroy us themselves?" "We don't," Tom admitted. "But I have studied their history. When humans encounter a hostile force, they respond with overwhelming force. But when they meet potential friends," he paused, letting his words sink in, "they can show remarkable kindness." The council chamber fell silent again. The emergency lights continued their red pulse, matching the rhythm of their failing worlds. "We need their strength," Tom said quietly. "We need their ships, their weapons, their warriors. Most of all, we need their experience. They have fought wars we can barely imagine. Their world has forced them to become stronger than any species we know." One by one, the council members began to nod. Even the most hesitant among them knew the truth. They were out of time and options. "Send the message," Tom ordered. The communications officer's fingers flew over the controls. On the main screen, the carefully crafted words appeared. "To the United Nations of Earth. We, the Alliance of Free Worlds, face extinction. Our worlds burn. Our people die. We need help, help that only you can provide. You have been isolated not out of hatred, but fear. Now we fear something worse. Please respond. The galaxy needs the creatures that even our enemies fear. With hope and respect. The Alliance Council." As the message was sent across the vast distance to Earth, Tom looked out at the stars through the chamber's window. "Now," he whispered, "we wait." Admiral James Stone stood in the United Nations Space Command Center, reading the alien message for the 10th time. Around him, The massive command center hummed with activity. Officers moved quickly between stations, preparing for what everyone knew was coming. "How long have they known about us?" General Andy Parker asked, his weathered face illuminated by the blue glow of the main screen. "At least 50 years, Stone replied, running a hand through his gray hair. "They've been watching us, studying us, thinking we were primitive because we didn't reach out." A small smile crossed his face. "They never realized we could detect their observation satellites." The room fell quiet as the UN secretary walked in. Mary Wells, elected 3 years ago, carried herself with the confidence of someone used to making world-changing decisions. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said, "the Security Council has reached a unanimous decision. We will respond." Stone nodded. He had expected this. Humanity had spent the last century preparing for first contact, building ships and weapons that would make any potential enemy think twice. Now they would finally reveal their true strength. "Admiral Stone," Wells continued, "you'll lead the response fleet. How quickly can we be ready?" Stone pressed a button on the command table. A hologram appeared, showing hundreds of ships hidden in bases across the solar system. "The first fleet can launch in 12 hours. The second and third fleets will follow within 48 hours. "So many ships," one of the junior officers whispered. "They think we're still using chemical rockets." Stone smiled again. The aliens had indeed been watching them, but humans had learned long ago to keep their best technology hidden. The ships they were about to reveal used engines that could cross light years in days. Their weapons could punch through any known shield. Their armor could withstand hits that would vaporize most materials. "Send the response message," Wells ordered. The communications officer typed quickly, and the message appeared on the main screen. "To the Alliance Council. Humanity accepts your call for aid. Our fleet will arrive at your provided coordinates within 7 days. Prepare your people. Help is coming. United Nations of Earth." 7 days, Parker asked quietly. "The coordinates they sent are 30 light years away." "Yes," Stone replied. "Their first surprise will be how quickly we arrive. Their second surprise will be what we bring with them." The next 48 hours were a blur of activity. Ships emerged from hidden bases on the Moon, Mars, and deep space. Crews boarded, supplies were loaded, and weapons were armed. Stone watched from his flagship, the UNS Defender, as the fleet gathered. Each ship was a masterpiece of human engineering. The smallest was twice the size of the largest ship they had let the aliens see. The largest, including Stone's flagship, were mountains of metal and energy, built to fight wars the Alliance species couldn't imagine. "Admiral," his communications officer called out, "all ships report ready. The fleet is yours." Stone looked at the holographic display showing his gathered forces. 300 ships, 50,000 crew members, and enough firepower to reshape solar systems. But more importantly, they carry humanity's determination to protect those who needed help. "Send to all ships," Stone ordered. "This is the moment humanity has prepared for. These aliens reached out to us, not because they saw our strength, but because they had no other choice. We will show them that their trust, even born of desperation, was well placed." He paused, looking at the faces of his bridge crew. They were ready. They had trained for this. "All ships engage faster than light drives. Formation Delta. We're about to show the galaxy why Earth is called a death world. Not because we're monsters, but because we learned to be strong. And now we'll use that strength to protect others." The fleet vanished into the darkness of space, leaving behind a solar system that had just revealed its true power to the galaxy. First Speaker Tom stared at the report in disbelief. "This cannot be right," he said, his blue skin turning almost white. "They said 7 days. It's only been 6, and our deep space sensors are already detecting their fleet." The Alliance monitoring station buzzed with frantic activity. Dozens of operators worked at their stations, trying to make sense of what they were seeing. The human ships weren't using any known form of faster-than-light travel. They simply appeared at the edge of each sensor network, paused briefly, then appeared at the next one. First speaker. An operator called out. "They're here." The main screen lit up with hundreds of contact signals. Ship after ship appeared in perfect formation, each one larger than anything the Alliance had ever built. They moved with impossible precision, arranging themselves in a defensive sphere around the Alliance station. "By the ancient stars," Counselor Reed whispered, his plant-like body trembling. "The smallest of their ships is bigger than our largest battleship." Tom watched as a message came through from the human fleet. It was simple and direct. "Alliance Station, this is Admiral Stone of the Earth Fleet. Permission to dock and meet in person." After sending their approval, the Alliance Council gathered in their main meeting chamber. Security teams stood nervous watch, though everyone knew their weapons would be useless if the humans turned hostile. They waited, hearts pounding, as the station's computer announced the arrival of the human delegation. The doors opened, and everyone gasped. Admiral Stone led a group of 5 humans into the room. They wore what looked like mechanical suits, powered armor that made them tower over even the tallest Alliance species. Each step echoed with controlled power, yet they moved with surprising grace. "Greetings, first speaker Tom," Stone said, his helmet opening to reveal a friendly smile. "We came as quickly as we could." Tom struggled to find his voice. These weren't the primitive savages they had expected. Every movement, every piece of equipment, every aspect of their presence spoke of advanced technology and military precision. You're much more advanced than our studies suggested," Tom finally managed to say. Stone's smile widened slightly. "We know about your observation satellites. We let you see what we wanted you to see. Earth learned long ago that it's sometimes wise to keep your true strengths hidden. But why reveal yourselves now?" Counselor Brightwing asked, her feathers quivering. "Because you asked for help," Stone replied simply. "And because we've been watching the hunters too. They're bullies who prey on those they think are weak. On Earth, we have a long history of dealing with bullies." He touched a control on his arm, and a hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed the hunter fleet that had been terrorizing the Alliance. "We've analyzed their attack patterns, their technology, and their weaknesses. We can stop them." "How can you be so sure?" Reed asked. "Because everything they do, we've seen before," another human officer explained. "Their tactics are like Earth's old wolf packs. Their ships are built for ambush and quick strikes. But they've never faced a prey that can fight back properly." Stone nodded. "We've spent centuries preparing for threats from space, the ships you see outside. They're just our first wave. Earth stands ready to commit everything needed to end this threat." Tom looked at his fellow council members, seeing hope replace fear in their expressions. "You're not what we expected," he admitted. "No," Stone agreed. "We're what you needed. The hunters think they're apex predators, but they've never met humans before. They've never fought a species that evolved on a world that makes their hunting grounds look like a garden." He straightened to his full height, the powered armor humming softly. "If you'll accept our help, we'll show them why Earth is called a death world. Not because we're monsters, but because we learned to be strong enough to protect others." Tom stood as well, making the formal gesture of acceptance. "The Alliance welcomes Earth's aid. Please, teach us how to fight back." The hunter commander smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. His fleet had cornered another group of Alliance ships near the mining colony of Blue Star. Easy prey, just like always. His ship's sensors showed 20 Alliance vessels trying to protect the colony. Then new signals appeared on his screen. "Supreme Hunter," his sensor officer called out, confusion in his voice. "Unknown ships approaching. They're coming out of faster-than-light travel inside our attack formation." The hunter commander's smile vanished. That was impossible. No one could be that precise with faster-than-light jumps. No one could. 5 human ships materialized around his command vessel. They were massive dark shapes that made his own ship look small. Before he could give any orders, A message boomed across all channels. "Hunter vessels, this is Admiral Stone of the Earth Fleet. You are attacking innocent civilians. Surrender now, or we will respond with force." The hunter commander laughed. No prey species had ever dared to demand his surrender. "Fire all weapons," he ordered. "Show these newcomers why we are called the Hunters." His ship launched its strongest attack, enough firepower to destroy 3 Alliance battleships. The energy beams struck the nearest human vessel directly. Nothing happened. The human ship's shields didn't just absorb the attack, they reflected it harmlessly into space. Then the humans responded. Their weapons were unlike anything the hunters had seen. Beams of light that cut through hunter shields like they weren't there. Strange missiles that seemed to ignore space itself, appearing inside hunter ships instead of hitting their hulls. And most terrifying of all, human boarding parties. "Enemy troops have breached Deck 3. A hunter officer screamed. They're walking through our defenses." Through the ship's internal cameras, the hunter commander watched in horror. Humans in powered armor moved through his ship like unstoppable machines. Hunter weapons barely slowed them down. When hunter warriors tried to fight hand-to-hand, the humans proved stronger, faster, and better trained. "Fall back," the hunter commander ordered. "All ships, retreat." But retreat wasn't possible. More human ships appeared behind them, cutting off their escape routes. The hunter fleet, for the first time in its history, was trapped. Admiral Stone's voice came again. "This is your final warning. Surrender or be destroyed. You have 1 minute to decide." In the Blue Star colony below, Alliance citizens watched in amazement. The mighty hunters, terror of the galaxy, were being beaten like beginners. Human ships moved with impossible grace, their weapons fired with perfect accuracy, and their troops fought with skills that seemed magical. Signal from the hunter flagship, Stone's communications officer reported. They're surrendering, sir." Stone nodded. In just 15 minutes, the humans had done what the Alliance couldn't do in years. They had defeated a hunter attack fleet. But he knew this was just the beginning. "Send in the medical teams," he ordered. "Even the hunters get treatment if they're wounded. Show them the difference between being strong and being cruel." Later, in the colony's main hall, Alliance leaders gathered around Stone, asking questions about the battle. How had humans become so powerful? How had they learned to fight like this? "On Earth," Stone explained, "we have a saying. The most dangerous animal is a cornered one. We learned that lesson well. Every human knows what it's like to be cornered, to have to fight against stronger enemies. We survived on a world that tried to kill us every day. The hunters thought they were apex predators, but they never faced something that evolved on Earth." He looked out the window at the captured hunter ships. This was just one battle. The hunters will adapt, try new tactics, but so will we. That's what humans do best. We adapt, we learn, and we get stronger. The Alliance members looked at each other with new understanding. They had feared humans because they came from a death world. Now they realized that same death world had forged humanity into exactly what the galaxy needed. Protectors who knew how to fight, but chose when not to. Dr. Bill White stood before the Alliance Science Council, pointing to the holographic display of Earth. 20 alien scientists watched with a mixture of horror and fascination as he explained human biology. "You're saying humans can break and repair bones multiple times?" asked lead researcher May, her 4 eyes blinking rapidly. "And they grow back stronger." "Exactly," Bill replied. "We call it adaptive repair. Most Earth creatures develop this ability because our world's gravity made broken bones common. What doesn't kill us literally makes us stronger." The aliens took notes frantically. They had spent the last month studying their human allies, and each discovery amazed them more. On the main screen, videos played showing human activities that seemed impossible to the Alliance species. "This can't be right," May said, pointing to one video. "These humans are running for fun, for over 42 kilometers." Bill smiled. "That's a marathon." Some humans run even longer distances. Our ancestors had to chase prey until it got tired. We're built for endurance. In another part of the Alliance station, military officers watched combat training sessions between human Marines and Alliance soldiers. The difference was striking. Where Alliance species tried to avoid physical harm at all costs, humans seemed almost comfortable with pain. They're not even using their powered armor, one Alliance commander whispered, watching humans practice hand-to-hand combat. Their natural strength is greater than our powered suits. Admiral Stone walked into the observation room, making the Alliance officers jump. Even after a month, they weren't used to how quietly humans could move despite their size. You're wondering why we train so hard when we have advanced technology, Stone said. It wasn't a question. Yes, the commander admitted. Your ships and weapons are far beyond ours. Why do your soldiers still train for physical combat? Stone's face grew serious. Because technology can fail. When everything else fails, a human needs to be ready to fight with whatever they have. On Earth, we learned this lesson countless times. The main screen changed to show Earth's various environments. Frozen poles, burning deserts, deep oceans, and thick jungles. Our world taught us to be ready for anything. Stone continued. Every environment on Earth tried to kill us. We adapted. We survived. Then we thrived. The hunters think they're tough because they can survive in space. But space. He chuckled. Space is easier than an average day in Australia. In the medical bay, more Alliance scientists studied human healing abilities. They watched in amazement as injured human soldiers recovered at rates that seemed magical to them. Their immune system attacks everything it doesn't recognize, one scientist reported. It's like their bodies are constantly ready for war. That's because they are, Dr. White explained, joining them. Earth has millions of microscopic organisms trying to kill us every day. Our bodies learn to fight them all. The Alliance Council met that evening to discuss their findings. First Speaker Tom looked troubled as he read the reports. They're not just strong, he said quietly. They're strong because they had to be. Their entire evolution was a constant battle for survival. And yet they chose to help us. Counselor Reed finished. They could have conquered the galaxy already. Instead, they waited, watched, only revealed themselves when we asked for help. Tom nodded. That's what makes them truly remarkable. They have all this power, all this strength, but they choose when to use it. They're not monsters. They're protectors. The meeting was interrupted by an emergency signal. The hunters had launched a massive counterattack, bigger than anything seen before. Tom watched the tactical display, but he wasn't afraid anymore. The human fleet was moving to intercept, and he had learned something important about their new allies. Humans weren't just powerful. They were powerful because they had survived worse things than the hunters could imagine. And now, they would teach the hunters why challenging a Deathworld species was the biggest mistake they had ever made. The Hunter Supreme Commander stood in his fortress on their homeworld, watching the tactical display with growing fear. The human fleet had pushed through every defense, beaten every trap, and survived every weapon. Now they were approaching the Hunter homeworld itself. Release the biological weapons, he ordered. All of them. Across the Hunter defense line, thousands of pods launched into space. Each contained viruses and bacteria that could kill most known species. The hunters had never used these weapons before. They were too dangerous, too unpredictable. But they were desperate now. On the U.S. Defender, Admiral Stone watched the pods approach. Just as we expected, he said calmly. Deploy the cleanup drones. Smaller ships launched from the human fleet. They moved through the cloud of biological weapons, their energy fields breaking down the deadly substances into harmless particles. The Alliance ships, safely behind the human fleet, watched in amazement. How? First Speaker Tom asked from his observation post. Those weapons should have killed everything in their path. Earth has worse diseases than these, Stone explained. We've been fighting invisible enemies since before we invented fire. Did the hunters really think their biological weapons would work against a species that survived the Black Death? The battle for the hunter homeworld began. The hunters had gathered every ship, every weapon, and every soldier they had left. They fought with the fury of a cornered animal. But the humans had seen it all before. When the hunters tried to use their famous pack tactics, the human ships split them apart with precision strikes. When they attempted ambushes, they found humans were better at hiding in plain sight. When they tried to overwhelm human marines with superior numbers, they learned why humans were called Deathworlders. All ships push forward. Stone ordered. Ground teams, prepare for landing. Human drop pods shot through the hunter defenses. Each contained 6 marines in powered armor. The hunters had expected an easy fight once the humans were on the ground. Surely no species could match them in close combat. They were wrong. They're unstoppable. A hunter commander screamed over the radio. Their armor is too strong, and even without it, they're still fighting. The human marines moved through the hunter defenses like they were made of paper. Years of fighting on a high-gravity world had made humans naturally stronger than the hunters. Their combat training, perfected over centuries of warfare, made them more skilled, and their determination to protect others made them unstoppable. Stone watched from orbit as the hunter fortress fell. His ground teams reported total victory, with minimal casualties. The Supreme Hunter Commander had surrendered personally to Captain Rob Jones of the Marine Corps. "Admiral," his communications officer called out. "The hunter leadership is requesting terms. They're offering complete surrender." The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew this was a historic moment. The hunters who had terrorized the galaxy for centuries were giving up. "Send to all ships," Stone ordered. "Cease fire. The war is over." In the hours that followed, Stone met with the hunter leaders. They expected execution, or at least life imprisonment. Instead, Stone offered them something they didn't understand: a chance to change. "Your species evolved as predators," Stone told them. "So did many species on Earth, but we learned to be more than our instincts. You can too." The Hunter's Supreme Commander looked confused. "Why show mercy? You could destroy us all." "Because that's not who we are," Stone replied. "Humans can be the most dangerous species in the galaxy, but we choose not to be. We're offering you the same choice." On the Alliance ships, celebrations broke out as news of the victory spread. They had won, and more importantly, they had seen something remarkable. A species powerful enough to destroy their enemies choosing to help them instead. First Speaker Tom watched the human ships begin cleanup operations around the hunter homeworld. "We feared them because they came from a death world," he said quietly. "We never understood that surviving such a world could create something greater than just warriors. It created protectors." 5 years after the Hunter War ended, the Alliance Central Station hosted the first Galactic Unity Conference. Representatives from all species, including the reformed hunters, gathered to celebrate half a decade of peace. The station's main hall had been decorated with flags from every world, Earth's blue and white banner hanging in the center. Admiral Stone, now serving as Earth's primary ambassador, watched the different species mingling peacefully. Former enemies talked and shared meals. Hunter children played games with Alliance young ones. Their natural predatory instincts turned to friendly competition instead of violence. "It's amazing how much has changed," First Speaker Tom said, joining Stone at the observation window. 5 years ago, we thought our civilization would end. Now look at us." Stone smiled. The changes had been remarkable. Human teachers had helped the Alliance species learn to defend themselves, while human scientists shared medical and technological knowledge. Most surprisingly, human psychologists had helped the hunters redirect their predatory nature into peaceful competitions and exploration. "The hunters have opened their first trade route with the plant worlds," Tom continued. "Their ships now protect merchant vessels instead of hunting them. Who would have thought it possible?" "Everyone can change," Stone replied. "Humans learned that lesson long ago. Our own history is full of former enemies becoming allies." Below them in the station's new training center, Human instructors worked with mixed groups of Alliance and Hunter students. They weren't teaching just fighting techniques, but also when not to fight, how to be strong without being cruel, how to protect without destroying. The latest survey teams found 3 new spacefaring civilizations, Tom said. In the old days, the hunters would have seen them as prey. Now they're joining us in making peaceful first contact. Stone nodded. The galaxy had changed in ways no one expected. Humanity's influence had spread far beyond military matters. Earth's art, music, and culture had fascinated the other species. Alliance worlds now hosted human sports events, while hunters had become surprisingly good at human board games, especially chess. We're opening the new academy next month, Tom added. Students from 50 different species will study together, even some from Earth. The academy had been built to share knowledge between all species. Humans would teach survival skills and technology. Alliance species would share their diplomatic and artistic traditions, and even the hunters would provide lessons about space navigation and tracking. Dr. Bill White approached them, carrying his latest research results. The Hunter Biology Project is showing amazing progress, he reported. By studying how humans learn to control our aggressive instincts, we've helped them understand their own nature better. Stone remembered how many had doubted this was possible. But humans knew from their own history that the most aggressive societies could become peaceful, that the strongest warriors could choose to be protectors instead. The Hunter Supreme Commander asked me to share something, Tom said, his voice proud. Their young ones are learning to measure strength not by who they can defeat, but by who they can protect. They say they learned this from studying human history. In the space around the station, ships from all species flew together in a unity parade. The massive human vessels now carried crews from many worlds. Alliance ships showed signs of human engineering improvements. Even hunter ships had been modified, their weapons turned to defensive purposes. We thought Earth was a death world that could only produce monsters, Tom admitted. We never understood that facing death every day could teach the greatest lessons about life. Stone watched a group of children from different species playing with a human ball game. They had modified the rules to account for their different abilities, making sure everyone could play fairly. That's the real strength humanity brought to the galaxy, Stone said. Not our weapons or technology. We showed everyone that the choice to be better is always possible, that the strongest warriors can become the wisest teachers, that yesterday's enemies can be tomorrow's friends. The galaxy had indeed changed. The species that everyone had feared, that had evolved on a world of death and danger, had taught them all how to truly live. And as the celebration continued, everyone knew that this was just the beginning of a new age of peace and understanding.